Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat here today with a Toonami news update for today, March 30th, 2021. Now, the first thing I want to cover is the ratings from March 27th, 2021, the last edition of Toonami. And first things first, I have to cover at 10:30 this past Saturday, we had Final Space at a 0.16. And then to start off Toonami's block at midnight, we had Dragon Ball Super at a 0.16, Attack on Titan at a 0.15, Food Wars at a 0.12, Fire Force at a 0.12, Black Clover at a 0.10, Gridman at a 0.09, Naruto Shippuden at a 0.11, and Demon Slayer at a 0.10. Overall, there is not much I can say about this week I did not say about last week, considering nearly every single show held steady week to week. Like, for example, Attack on Titan, same numbers last week. Food Wars, same numbers last week. Fire Force, same numbers last week. Black Clover, same numbers last week. SSSS Gridman, same numbers last week. And even Demon Slayer, same numbers last week. So, really, and there was a very common factor in both, and that was March Madness. And this past time it was, I believe, the Sweet 16. Not as interesting a game in the time slot that overlapped with Toonami. But again, March Madness comes once a year. It's always going to get preference. So next week, considering it's actually the Final Four, and I think it starts on Saturday. I don't know when the second game is going to be. That could also overlap with Toonami. If that does, expect numbers similar to this again. But one thing I want to point out is just Final Space tanking right now at a 0.16, falling 5/100ths from its season 3, I believe, premiere last week. It's a show not that many people really wanted. I haven't heard much buzz about it. I only heard like 2 weeks ago them saying, "Oh, it's gonna be Saturdays at 10:30 on Adult Swim," and I'm like, "Well, that's like some weird compromise." Like you can tell there was some exec that really wanted to put this at Toonami, and then some more people pushed back on it. So we get this compromise where instead of airing on like Sundays, which is what Adult Swim usually airs their new programs, instead we get this airing on Saturday at an inopportune slot. Not that many people watch Adult Swim at 10:30 at night. And you get this, you get a 0.16. Another little tidbit not really related to Toonami or my news update, but it was just announced a little earlier that sometime in June, I think June 10th, I might be wrong on that date, we're going to get Rick and Morty Season 5 debuting on the block, which is interesting considering this is like far and away the shortest break between seasons, like approximately 1 year from the end of Season 4 to the start of Season 5. I feel like part of the reason why they're going faster now is because they already got a commitment through the 100th episode, which means they still have like 50 something episodes to make and air. And even if you do it like per year, it's going to be like 4 or 5 years before this commitment's over. And Rick and Morty's ratings just consistently started to plummet throughout last season, and having it separate into two mini seasons didn't help. But again, a bit of a distraction, but something I wanted to bring up considering that is topical, considering that just came out today. And also, that being said, expect this Wednesday night, so tomorrow night at midnight, some shenanigans to happen. At least probably can get more announcements because it is the annual April Fool's Day prank from Adult Swim. Last year was one of the better received ones. And if you don't recall, they basically aired like the season premiere of like nearly every show that was going to air new episodes that year, or new shows in general, like that fairy tale show everyone already forgot about. Laser Wolf season 2 had its episode air. That Shivering Truth show that only edgelords really like, and also Primal had its second half of the first season debut air there. And of course, you had interstitials featuring Post Malone, which got a lot of people excited. And like I said, I thought that was one of the better April Fool's pranks. And that was actually when we got the announcement that later that month we were going to get the second half of season 4, Rick and Morty airing. So just a little bit of tidbit, something to keep awareness of. I might be making a pretty big video on Thursday if there's anything Toonami related. We do have 3 Toonami originals slated for sometime this year that we have no real information on air dates. And although it's not gonna be a Toonami related takeover, it's a Wednesday night. When we got the Toonami takeover in 2018 was because April Fools fell on Saturday night. So it was tempting to be like, let's just air the first episode of Fully Coolly Alternative in Japanese, you know. But we're not gonna get that. We might get an announcement about Fina Pirate Princess, which is, like I said, the show I'm anticipating will be the first original out. I guessed a while back it was going to be out in March or February. I've already been proven wrong with that. But again, maybe we'll get an announcement. I don't expect much more Toonami related other than that maybe happening. And now back to the ratings. Like I said, ratings pretty steady week to week here. And it's pretty hilarious to see how Gridman is building up to its finale. And like almost all the social media buzz about Toonami was about this show, but it doing comically, really comically bad numbers, admittedly in a horrible slot at 2:30 in the morning. And there's one tidbit I read somewhere a little while back about someone went back to this weekend last year, so about 52 weeks ago, and just like a sample. And I want to read this out quick, like just a sampling of where we were in terms of ratings relative to this week. So what we got was this time at 11:30, considering the blocks at 11:30 back then, we had My Hero Academia at a 0.32, and then after that we had War of the Underworld at a 0.25, Demon Slayer at a 0.24, Food Wars at a 0.22, Black Clover at a 0.21, Golden Wind at a 0.19, and Shippuden at a 0.16. The lowest show in the block, Shippuden, in that 2:30 death slot at the time, did equally as well as the best show this week. But one massive advantage that block, which admittedly to a lot of people was one of the most goated blocks in Toonami history, was the fact that every show in that was new. Of course, you can always like have hand wavy talk about Black Clover not really being new, or Shippuden definitely not really being new. Everything else in that was new. Like you had My Hero Academia in season 4. That's always going to get people. War of the Underworld, when people were really getting into that show, people were starting to really turn back on Sword Online by then. And of course, Demon Slayer being the massive global sensation it is. And then Food Wars when it was like a surprise hit. And then Black Clover when it had that weird period where it was like doing really, really well. So basically, we had like a murderer's row of a lineup back then. And even though the block now is better than it has been, it's still weak relative to back then. And also, of course, you have to say cable cutting. And that was right before we got the big coof, really start to screw up schedules and to screw up dubbing. So that was kind of like the last taste of normalcy we really had with Toonami. Okay, now other Toonami related announcements. Nothing directly related to the block, but some stuff related to shows tied to the block. Like, for example, we have My Hero Academia is getting another movie. Again, I believe this is their third one. The first two did reasonably well in American theaters. So stay tuned for that. It's probably, of course, me a while till that gets released. Probably sometime after season 5, which debuts actually debuted a couple days ago, I believe, in Japan, season 5 of My Hero Academia. And that show will be coming to Toonami sooner rather than later. I know there's like 3 or so slots coming up in the next 4 or 5 weeks that we haven't had any show announcements for. 2 of those will almost certainly be My Hero Academia season 5 and Doctor Stone season 2. What the other one is, hopefully it's Fina. I wouldn't be too optimistic, but that's plausible. And the other movie announcement is Black Clover is getting a movie. And because of these 2 movie announcements, I'm just gonna like just throw a picture from Black Clover and My Hero Academia in there. I don't know which ones yet. I'm probably gonna pick ones with waifus in it. But again, and that's really it for news this week with Toonami. What do you guys think? What's your opinion on these ratings? Opinions on these movie announcements coming to the block? What do you think the April Fool's prank Adult Swim's gonna pull off is gonna be? I like reading your comments and opinions and stuff. I am Super Orange Cat, and that is all.